What prompted it?
Well, the USGS was following up on a study it had done previously that was sort of discredited, and the methodology that's employed by USGS is an indirect method whereby they try to figure out what the friction factor is in a river reach downstream of the Dalles, and then based on that friction factor they make some calculations and figure out whether or not Stewart's estimates were accurate. It's, you know, I just think it's really a whole lot of jumping up and down and arm flapping and graphs and charts and data, and I'm not seeing that it really means anything, frankly.
You want to comment on Hrmadka's evaluation also? That kind of substantiated what the other two said as well.
Well, we contracted with a hydrologist down in California, a fellow by the name of Ted Hrmadka, and he looked at this issue from a completely different perspective, and that is, you know, what is the likelihood that, I guess I can use this, what is the likelihood that these 4 flood events occurred within a 25-year period and exceeded substantially every other flood that occurred over the ensuing 84 years. Extremely low probability that that could have happened. And in addition, he considered the possibility of whether or not some of these floods could have been caused by river blockages. And then he did a literature review and noted in several places where the literature really indicated that the PI engineering estimates were quite realistic. Yes, sir.
Shall reasonable people under reasonable circumstances looking at this particular chart in the last 50 years, there's a lot more people alive today to have identified those levels of those events from about 1943 on. There are very few people alive today that witnessed the levels of the flood events prior to 1923.
That's right. But there is one at least. There's a fellow by the name of Fred Slipper, who was a newspaper man and has been interviewed by Larry Kunzler. And he lived in a house in Hamilton and remembers the 1921 flood event, and it sticks in his mind because in the house that he lived in, water just came up over the floors, and they had new floors, and his mom was very worried that the floors would be ruined. And at that time, his house was in a little bit lower spot than the Smith house. And so we think that's all consistent with the fact that the Smith house, you know, didn't get wet during the 21 flood.
But the data from about 1943 to current is scientifically a little more concrete than the data previous to that, it seems to me.
Well, in fact, I would submit that the data from 1924 on is very concrete. The only data point that's in question really is the 1932 data point that one